Hushpuppi's story is like a Netflix series, except it's real. 50 Cent even announced plans to adapt it, but no script could capture the sheer audacity of his crimes. From scamming a US law firm out of $40 million to implicating a Nigerian police commissioner, his schemes were outrageous. Yet his greatest flaw was believing his own hype. This is what happens when arrogance meets justice. Hushpuppi's Instagram feed was a masterclass in deception. Every post showed private jets, designer shopping sprees, and stacks of cash arranged like trophies. He posed in front of luxury cars with customized plates, bearing his nickname. The images were polished, intentional, each one reinforcing the idea that he had achieved unimaginable wealth through legitimate means. At his peak, he amassed over 2.5 million followers who believed the illusion. But this persona was a fiction. The truth started much differently. Born Ramon Abbas in Nigeria, he grew up as the son of a taxi driver in a modest neighborhood. Before the designer suits and Dubai penthouses, he sold second-hand clothes in Lagos markets. This contrast between his origins and his curated online identity wasn't accidental. It was essential. To the fraud, by framing himself as a self-made success story, he gained credibility. Posts showing him handing out cash to strangers or dining at Dubai's most exclusive restaurants weren't just boasts. They were tools to convince potential victims. Research shows social media influencers often exaggerate wealth to create aspirational appeal. But Hushpuppi took this further. He staged specific moments for maximum deception. In one post, he flaunted a receipt for a $230,000 watch. In another, he filmed stacks of $100 bills scattered across a hotel bed. But behind these displays was strategic intent. Forensic accountants later noted discrepancies between the timelines of his posts and verified financial records. The private jets, often rented for brief photo ops. The cash, frequently props, sourced from criminal associates. His decision to relocate to Dubai was deliberate. The city's reputation for opulence provided the perfect backdrop for his scams. A penthouse with skyline views held more persuasive power than a Lagos apartment. Police would later discover his residence was leased under false corporate documents, while his actual living expenses were funded by stolen money. Dubai's luxury infrastructure, from high-end car rentals to yacht charter services, allowed him to maintain the facade with relative ease. The false narrative served a practical purpose. He did have expensive tastes and access to luxury goods, just not through legal income. Forensic analysis of deleted posts revealed careful editing to remove traces of criminal associates. The Instagram feed was scrubbed of anything that might hint at fraud, leaving only the polished image of a successful entrepreneur. This illusion wasn't just for followers, it insulated him from suspicion. Middle Eastern banks processed his transactions with fewer questions because the online persona suggested legitimate wealth. The same posts that gained him admiration also functioned as camouflage for money laundering. By the time he was arrested, investigators found he'd created over 50 shell companies tied to his social media promotions. The move to Dubai marked the point where his criminal ambitions expanded internationally. While Nigerian authorities had been tracking minor fraud allegations, the UAE provided access to higher value targets: American law firms, European football clubs, Asian corporations. His Instagram became both a branding tool and an evidence locker, every post inadvertently documenting the proceeds of crime. The very platform that built his reputation would later help dismantle it. Behind the carefully crafted Instagram posts, Hushpuppi ran an extensive cybercrime operation. His network specialized in business email compromises, a scheme where criminals pose as company executives to redirect large payments. The $40 million theft from a US law firm showed the scale of his ambition. He targeted the firm's construction financing department, Impersonating a client to redirect funds meant for a real estate project. The money moved through multiple shell companies before disappearing into offshore accounts. The operation extended across at least 4 continents. Court documents show $14.7 million stolen from Malta's Bank of Valletta through a similar email compromise scheme. Hushpuppi's team gained access to a banker's email account, then submitted forged transfer authorization documents. The funds were laundered through Chinese underground banking networks before being converted to cryptocurrency. But the height of his audacity came when he attempted to steal $124 million from an English Premier League club. He posed as a bank representative in communications with the club's finance department, claiming a scheduled player transfer payment needed redirection due to security concerns. Club officials grew suspicious when the account details kept changing. Unlike previous victims, they contacted law enforcement immediately. The FBI traced IP addresses used in the communications back to a VPN service Hushpuppi had purchased under an alias. Forensic analysis showed his criminal network operated with surprising discipline. Money mules received printed instruction manuals, detailing transfer limits and withdrawal schedules. One recovered document specified exact percentages for dividing stolen funds between participants. Hushpuppi took a 40% cut of each successful scam, with the remainder split between hackers, launderers, and local facilitators. This structured approach allowed the network to process over $50 million before authorities intervened. But greed made him careless. Investigators noticed unusual patterns in his spending that eventually led to his downfall. While laundering money through Dubai real estate purchases, Hushpuppi insisted on paying entire property values in cash within 24 hours of viewing. This violated local anti-money laundering thresholds and triggered bank reports to UAE financial monitoring units. And then, the final straw was the Premier League club incident. Unlike previous targets, the club maintained detailed email logs showing the complete fraud attempt from initial contact to the aborted transfer. These records provided concrete evidence of Hushpuppi's direct involvement in coordinating the attack. Investigators matched linguistic patterns in the emails to messages he sent on encrypted platforms. As law enforcement pieced together the network structure, they identified Hushpuppi as a central coordinator rather than just a beneficiary. His role involved approving targets, arranging laundering channels, and resolving disputes between accomplices. This position made him vulnerable. Dozens of arrested associates provided information about his operations to negotiate lighter sentences. But the growing evidence forced Hushpuppi to take greater risks. In late 2019, he began using cryptocurrency mixers to obscure transaction trails. But blockchain analysis still tied withdrawals to his known shell companies. His Instagram posts became less frequent. As he shifted focus to damage control, Dubai police noted he started using burner phones and changing residences every few weeks. But the net was already closing. Operation Fox Hunt. 2 began as a routine cybercrime investigation, but became one of the most high-profile takedowns in recent history. The FBI had been tracking Hushpuppi's activities for over a year, tracing fraudulent transactions across 11 countries. When Dubai police confirmed his location in a luxury residence, the 2 agencies coordinated timing for simultaneous raids. The operation marked a rare instance of seamless international cooperation, given jurisdictional complexities in cybercrime cases. The raid itself occurred on June 10, 2020, at 6 a.m. Dubai time. Police units breached Hushpuppi's penthouse while he and 2 associates were still asleep. Body cam footage showed officers systematically documenting evidence: designer watches laid out on a dresser, stacks of cash in a closet safe, and multiple phones organized by color. Forensic teams later determined the seized $40 million in cash. represented just a fraction of his total operation. The items themselves revealed patterns. 47 smartphones suggested an operation scaled for global reach, while the 15 external hard drives contained encrypted financial records. Challenges immediately emerged in processing the evidence. The seized database included 800,000 potential victim emails, requiring months of decryption and verification. Investigators found Hushpuppi used region-specific strategies. European targets received more polished fake invoices than Asian ones. The 21 laptops confiscated contained varied activity. Some showed sophisticated hacking tools, while others displayed basic browsing histories. This discrepancy helped prosecutors argue he operated in a supervisory role rather than handling technical aspects personally. The extradition process exposed flaws in transnational cybercrime policies. Hushpuppi initially fought transfer to the US, arguing he should face charges in the UAE. Legal analysts noted this was strategic. Dubai courts might have focused on local victims rather than global impact. When extradited, his trial revealed meticulous records of scams totaling $434 million. Prosecutors presented WhatsApp conversations where he discussed moving funds through 3 countries within hours to avoid detection. Sentencing hinged on 2 key factors. The $40 million law firm theft demonstrated capability, while attempts to scam a Qatari businessman out of $1.1 million showed willingness to exploit individuals. Forensic accountants traced $58 million directly to accounts he controlled. The defense argued cultural misunderstanding of wealth display, but Judge Wright dismissed this, noting his crimes deliberately targeted multiple cultures. The 135-month sentence accounted for both financial damage and the sophistication of operations. Hushpuppi's downfall came through operational security lapses he previously mocked. His insistence on quick luxury property purchases in Dubai triggered financial monitoring alerts. Reliance on a core group of 12 accomplices created vulnerability when arrests began. Even his social media habits contributed to the case. Geotagged posts helped establish timelines connecting him to specific frauds. The aftermath revealed unexpected complications. Several luxury items couldn't be legally seized because they were leased under shell companies. Some victim funds had already passed through cryptocurrency mixers, making recovery impossible. Perhaps most significantly, the case exposed how social media fame provided both camouflage and liability. His very online presence generated the evidence trail that secured his conviction. Publicly, the sentencing closed the case. Privately, investigators estimated they identified less than 60% of his network's total activity. The database of 800,000 potential victims suggested thousands might never report losses. His operation demonstrated how cybercrime had industrialized, with specialized roles mirroring legitimate businesses. The 11-year prison term represented just the endpoint of a system that had already evolved beyond any single individual. What remained was the question of legacy. Hushpuppi's crimes weren't just financial, they reshaped perceptions of online credibility. His ability to weaponize Instagram fame set a dangerous precedent that law enforcement is still addressing. The case forced platforms to reconsider verification standards, but his methods had already been replicated by others. The illusion he created proved more durable than the man himself. Hushpuppi's downfall sparked polarized reactions that revealed deeper societal divides. While some condemned his crimes outright, others minimized them. A study in Helion showed Twitter users often trivialized online fraud when discussing cases like his. This split highlighted how perceptions of crime shift when the perpetrator cultivates celebrity status. Discussions frequently framed his actions as clever rather than criminal, with social media commenters praising his lavish lifestyle while overlooking the victims. The response demonstrated how digital platforms can distort moral judgments when wealth and fame enter the equation. Language became a key battleground in shaping public opinion. Nigerians on Twitter created merged names like Hush Ibrahim and Puppy Magu. combining Hushpuppi's identity with Ibrahim Magu, the former EFCC chairman accused of corruption. These linguistic blends served as social commentary, equating a convicted fraudster with an anti-corruption official facing similar allegations. The parallels drawn exposed contradictions in how Nigeria confronts financial crimes. When authorities pursue high-profile cases against southern Nigerians like Hushpuppi, while northern elites face less scrutiny, it fuels perceptions of unequal justice. Regional biases further complicated reactions. Research in cyber psychology, behavior, and social networking found stark contrasts between northern and southern Nigeria regarding fraud prosecutions. Southerners like Hushpuppi faced harsher narratives in media and courts compared to northern defendants. The study tied this to colonial-era divisions that still influence modern institutions. British administrators historically characterized northerners as more trustworthy, creating stereotypes that persist in financial sector hiring and law enforcement priorities. This legacy shaped why some saw Hushpuppi's prosecution as selective, rather than purely merit-based. The way people discussed his crimes revealed underlying societal tensions. Supporters framed his schemes as responses to economic exclusion, arguing systemic barriers justified unconventional wealth accumulation. Critics countered that this rationalization ignored real victims, from defrauded businesses to individuals whose identities he stole. The debate mirrored larger conversations in Nigeria about inequality and opportunity. His case became a proxy for frustrations with unemployment and corruption, with some arguing his sentence reflected Western powers targeting successful Africans, rather than addressing root causes of cybercrime. Hushpuppi's lavish social media presence also skewed perceptions. Followers who saw only his designer purchases and charitable acts struggled to reconcile that image with courtroom evidence of sophisticated fraud. This disconnect illustrates how carefully curated online personas can obscure criminal activity. Researchers noted his victims often mentioned trusting him because his Instagram appeared to show legitimate success. The platform's algorithms amplified his most extravagant posts, creating a feedback loop that reinforced his credibility. Legally, his case exposed gaps in international cybercrime cooperation. While Nigerian authorities had investigated him for years, they lacked resources to prosecute complex transnational schemes. The UAE and US intervention underscored how wealthier nations dominate cybercrime enforcement, raising questions about sovereignty. Some Nigerians criticized the speed of foreign prosecutions compared to sluggish domestic cases against politically connected figures. This disparity fueled conspiracy theories about foreign agendas, further muddying public consensus on his guilt. The lingering question isn't just about one man's crimes, but what his story reveals about justice systems and societal values. Hushpuppi operated in a grey area where criminality blurred with aspirational capitalism. His ability to leverage social media fame for fraudulent gains pointed to broader vulnerabilities in how we authenticate success online. The regional divides in reactions highlighted unfinished national reconciliation projects, and the transnational nature of his prosecution showed how globalized crime challenges traditional jurisdiction concepts. Ultimately, his legacy may be as a cautionary tale about credibility in the digital age. The same platforms that built his empire eventually helped dismantle it, proving curated images often contain their own contradictions. But the divided reactions to his sentencing suggest deeper unresolved issues about inequality, colonial hangovers, and who gets to define criminality in an interconnected world, where flashy aesthetics sometimes outweigh ethical scrutiny. His story forces a reckoning with how societies reward performance over substance, and what happens when that performance masks exploitation. Hushpuppi's downfall reveals the dangerous allure of social media illusions. His story forces us to question how easily curated images can disguise criminal activity when paired with aspirational narratives. The FBI case showed his extravagant posts weren't just vanity, they were tools to gain trust and conceal fraud. While some admired his apparent success, victims lost millions to schemes hidden behind designer lifestyles. This case exposes a digital landscape where perception often outweighs reality. Viewers should scrutinize online personas that glorify unexplained wealth. True success can't be measured in Instagram posts, especially when those posts become evidence in federal court.